Talk, music, get it all
24 hours
on West Africa Democracy Radio
94.9
94.9 FM Dakar.
WADR
WADR Promoting Dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar and Banjul, 1 p.m. in Port Novo. Good afternoon, and thank you for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and across the world at wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Coming up in the news, deadly clashes between two rival armed groups in northeast Nigeria result in over 200 casualties.
This is not the first time the two factions of the terror group have been fighting between them.
In Mali, academic activities resume after a 2-week compulsory break due to fuel scarcity.
Yes, I am happy. I was eager for classes to resume. I reviewed my lessons and did exercises.
A military tribunal in Togo postpones a hearing in the case involving the former chief of army staff, and in Ghana, an investigation committee to declare findings of the August 6 helicopter crash that killed senior state officials. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining us. We begin in Nigeria, where more than 200 deaths were reported during clashes between fighters from the Boko Haram terrorist group and its offshoot, ISWAP. The fight between the two rival armed groups occurred on Sunday in the Dogon Chukun area of the Lake Chad Basin, according to several sources, including repentant insurgents. Sources say the gun battle ensued following territorial disputes and ideological differences. Channels TV, citing Babakura Okolo, a former militia, reported that around 200 ISWAP militants were killed, while Boko Haram reportedly lost 4 fighters. Another repentant militant based in Borno, epicenter of the decade-long insurgency, described the clash as the worst violence between the groups. While the Nigerian Defense Headquarters has yet to comment or confirm this development, security sources speculate that insurgents were killed during airstrikes. Well, joining us from Borno State is Bukar Bulama.
It's very true, and this is not the first time the two factions of the terror group have been fighting between them. This has started about 3 to 4 years ago. Actually, Boko Haram was one single organization. Many people think that they are very strong, indivisible organizations, but eventually, because of Boko Haram ideology and so many terror world or global terror groups such as IS, Islamic State, and then Al-Qaeda, disown Boko Haram, distance themselves from Boko Haram terrorists because of their modes of operation. They don't have a specified or specific objective, and they don't even have a outlined or clear objectives. They kill children, they kill women, they destroy even animals and even trees, and destroy everything. They are entirely destructive. And this was why some of the group members said they cannot continue killing people anyhow. And then ISWAP and other groups decided to divide themselves and form Islamic State for West Africa.
Bukar Bulama is a security expert based in Borno State. He'll be joining us later in later part of the news. Still in Nigeria, the government and stakeholders are taking steps to strengthen migration governance through the review of its national migration policy, designed to make migration safer, orderly, and more beneficial for development. The revised policy, which is set to receive a formal approval from the federal government, was the focus of a multi-stakeholder engagement in Abuja. It was organized by the Civil Society Network on Migration and Development with support from the UN Migration Agency, IOM. As WADR's Usman Omar reports, the government and civil society are seeking to ensure that migration contributes positively to development while protecting the rights of migrants.
At a national stakeholders engagement in Abuja, representatives from government, international partners and civil society examined the revised National Migration Policy 2025, which sets out a framework for effective migration management across all levels of governance. Speaking on behalf of the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Fumilayo Adejorin, said the revised policy reflects Nigeria's commitment to harnessing migration for sustainable development and poverty reduction.
We see its impacts daily on the lives of those displaced by conflicts and climate, on families seeking economic opportunities, and on communities hosting migrants. The revised National Migration Policy 2025 represents our country's strategic and forward-looking framework to manage these complex dynamics.
IOM Policy and Program Officer Ukamaka Anyanechi and Dr. Emeka Chris Obiezu, National Coordinator of the Civil Society Network on Migration and Development, said the policy's success will depend on joint efforts among government, civil society and communities.
What we tried to achieve working closely with the Nigerian government is to ensure that Nigeria continues to have a policy document that provides governance direction on issues of migration.
The revised National Migration Policy 2025, awaiting the federal government's endorsement, outlines 6 priority areas including labor mobility, migrant rights protection, integrated border management, data-driven policy, and inclusivity for women, youth, and persons with disabilities. Nigeria is experiencing a significant outward migration in 2025, a continuation of the trend from previous years. This exodus, described as Japa, is driven primarily by economic factors, insecurity, and the pursuit of better opportunities abroad. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Omar reporting from Abuja.
In Togo, the hearing in the appeal trial of the former Chief of Defense Staff, General Felix Abalo Katanga, has been postponed to February 16, 2026. The Attorney General justified this adjournment by citing the unavailability of certain key participants in the proceedings. However, he did not specify the identity of these individuals nor the reasons for their absence. Augustine Colley has more.
The former Chief of Staff of the Togolese Armed Forces will have to wait until February 2026 for the continuation of his appeal trial. Opened this Monday, November 10, 2025, before the Lomé Court of Appeal, the hearing lasted only about 30 minutes before being adjourned. This decision surprised those present, given the high level of anticipation surrounding the case. The court appearance had prompted a significant security presence around the courthouse. The atmosphere was tense, reflecting the sensitivity and political significance of this case, which has been closely followed by the public. However, as soon as the session opened, the Attorney General took the floor to announce the postponement of the hearing, citing the absence of certain key participants essential to the proceedings. No substantive debate took place. As a reminder, on November 7, 2023, General Felix Abelo Katanga, former Chief of Staff of the Togolese Armed Forces, was found guilty by the military court of conspiracy against the internal security of the state, complicity in the assassination of the commander of the 1st Rapid Intervention Battalion in May 2020, and obstruction of justice. He was sentenced to 20 years of imprisonment. With this new postponement, General Felix Abelo Katanga and his lawyers would therefore have to wait several more months before the Court of Appeal delivers its ruling in this case.
A report by WADR's Sylvia Wedrago in Lomé and voiced by Augustine Colley.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Remember, we stream live at wadr.org and across our social media platforms at WADR English. In Ghana's parliament, the vetting of Chief Justice nominee Justice Paul Bafoboni went ahead on Monday despite a boycott by the minority caucus. The minority's decision to reject the nominee and boycott the vetting stems from what they describe as serious concerns about the selection process and the unresolved legal challenge filed by former Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono over her removal. From Accra, Nadiri Tete reports.
The Appointments Committee of Parliament has proceeded with the vetting of Chief Justice nominee Justice Paul Bafoboni despite a walkout by the minority members of Parliament. Here is the minority leader Alexander Panyo announcing the NPP side's walkout.
We would want to state on record that the majority can proceed with the questions. We do not intend to proceed with any question. We are, however, registering in the strongest terms that we reject the nomination, and the records should reflect that the report of this committee be a majority report.
According to the minority, their stance is based on what they believe is the illegitimacy of Justice Paul Bafoboni's nomination and unresolved legal challenges relating to the removal of former Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Issa Basaki Tokono. This is a position the majority leader Mahama Yarga vehemently opposed.
You know the rules in the Constitution regarding the work of the proceedings. You haven't shown at any stage that the rules in the Constitution governing the work of the committee have been breached in any way. How can you come and sit here and describe the work as opaque, travesty of justice, and improper removal, and etc., and expect me to sit here and allow you to do that? You are clearly violating the rules. And when I try to guide you how to go about your work, then you say that I'm trying to obstruct you.
The Appointments Committee of Parliament, chaired by Bernard Ahiafo, went ahead with the exercise, with Justice Bafoboni responding to questions on judicial independence, corruption in the courts, and the need to enhance public confidence in the judiciary. The committee is expected to present its report to the full House in the coming days for a final decision on the nomination. For WDR, Nadiri Tete, Accra.
In Mali, students returned to schools for academic activities on Monday after a 2-week break. The suspension of classes was due to a fuel shortage that had paralyzed public transportation, making it difficult for teachers and students to get to school. The JNIM armed group has imposed a blockade on fuel import routes into the country. Sankule Janko tells us more.
In this 9th grade class at the Nasira Keita School Complex, the students are focused on the grammar lessons being taught by their teacher. After 2 weeks of school closures, these students are enthusiastically returning to school.
Yes, I am happy. I was eager for classes to resume. I reviewed my lessons and did exercises. Because we are the candidates, we have to make a lot of effort. I asked the older students to also make a lot of effort. I feel better now. I have a lot of motivation to come to school. I was unhappy because the 2 weeks were extended because of the fuel issue. I thought I wouldn't be able to return to school.
While classes resume normally on Monday, teachers hope to quickly catch up on the few weeks lost to avoid any repercussions on the school calendar. Nigel Keita is the principal of the Nasira Keita School.
The suspension slowed us down a bit because when the new school year started, we were so committed. But suddenly, when classes were stopped, it held us back. Since we are in the private sector, we had to really push ourselves, despite the delays, so we can be at the same level as last year.
The resumption of classes is also welcomed by the students' parents. It's a relief for Njangwina Keita to see her children back in school.
We feel joyous. We are happy, very happy about the reopening, and we hope it will continue.
The suspension of classes 2 weeks ago was due to a fuel shortage, which disrupted the transportation of students and teachers. While classes have resumed in Bamako, in several parts of the country, schools have been closed for several years due to insecurity affecting thousands of students and hundreds of teachers.
A report by WADR's Aliu Cham in Bamako and presented to you by Sankule Janko. Elsewhere in Guinea, today marks a historic day for the country as it enters a new industrial era with the launch of a mining operations at the Simandao iron ore deposit. The site is considered one of the largest mining projects in the world. A grand ceremony is planned and will be attended by several African heads of state, leaders of international institutions, and senior government officials. To mark the event, the government has declared Tuesday a nationwide public holiday. Meanwhile, Banjul is hosting officials from across West Africa for regional training on cross-border financial statistics. The workshop, which opened on Monday, brings together financial analysts, economists, policymakers, technical experts, and researchers from ECOWAS member states, including the Gambia. The objective is to compile cross-border position statistics vital for tracking a country's financial connections with the rest of the world. WADR's son Donald Mendy completes the story.
The 5-day event comes at a time when global finance is rapidly shifting, with financial instruments becoming more complex and economies increasingly impacted. Bedri Zamari is a senior economist and a statistician at the International Monetary Fund, IMF.
Updating a core statistical framework like the balance of payments is not just about adjusting concepts on paper. It's about ensuring that concepts on the ground have the tool, training, and guidance they need to apply the new statistical standards effectively.
Serif Toure, Director of Research at the Central Bank of the Gambia, who spoke on behalf of the governor, said accurate cross-border statistics are crucial for designing policies that maintain financial stability and promote sustainable growth.
They also inform monetary and exchange rate policies, enabling central banks to gauge reserve adequacy and maintain financial confidence.
Over the coming days, delegates will exchange experiences with regional counterparts and work with IMF experts to strengthen institutions and improve evidence-based policy making across the region. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Donald Mendy, Banjul.
You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. We are live online at wadr.org. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Deadly clashes between two rival armed groups in northeast Nigeria result in over 200 casualties. In Mali, academic activities resume after a 2-week compulsory break due to fuel scarcity. A military tribunal in Togo postpones a hearing in the case involving former Chief of Defense Staff. And in Ghana, investigation committee to declare findings of the August 6 helicopter crash that killed senior state officials. Still ahead in the news, we have the press review, guest interview, and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for staying with us. The world's largest climate gathering, COP30, kicked off in Brazil on Monday with several leaders and thousands of delegates, including climate experts, academics, business executives, CSOs, and media in attendance. A decade since the Paris Agreement, the outgoing presidency of the Climate Summit COP29, Azerbaijan, said the era marks a phase of implementation. However, President of COP29, Mukhtar Babayev, like his predecessors, stated that gap remains in the $100 billion annual climate financing for mitigation and adaptation measures, despite several pledges made. Babayev was speaking at the opening of COP30 in Brazil before handing over to his successor.
As an outgoing presidency, this is our solemn duty. By fulfilling past promises, we restore faith in the system. We prove that building more agreements is not in vain, but the history of holding donors to account for the $100 billion is a disappointing one. It was raised at these podiums many times by many leaders, and we are forced to find more creative ways to make our points. So let me try this. Today, we are presenting donors with this invoice, which you can find on our COP29 media channels. This covers that donors have already promised. It includes the essential milestones that will keep us on track. First, we must double adaptation finance. This was due to the end of 2025, and the deadline is almost upon us. So developed countries must use every moment remaining to close the gap. Second, we need to triple the UN climate funds by 2030. This was a key demand of small island development states, and we all agreed. So we need substantial contributions to each fund's next replenishment round. The invoice concludes with the 300 billion promised by 2035. And in the same way, we expect countries to publish 10 years of plans in their NDCs and NAPs. This is a new era. It is a decade that demands delivery, not debate.
Mukhtar Babayev, outgoing president of the Climate Summit COP29.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
For today's press review, let's join Abraham Parker in Monrovia.
Welcome to the Tuesday's edition of Press Review. This edition features 4 local dailies. Well, we begin with the Liberian investigator, and it goes with these stories. Supreme Court of Liberia sets hearing for ex-finance minister Tue and the former officials in alleged corruption today. Liberia World Bank launch health and security project to boost outbreak preparedness. Liberian engineer urges the Liberian Senate to reject US $365 million road deal. Our next stop is the news with Volume 36, number 141, and it goes with these stories. Debt stock stands at US $2.7 billion, Finance Minister discloses. Government tacked on yellow machines purchase. And to conclude on the nation's news, judges call for review of jury trial provisions. Our next stop is the front page Africa newspaper, volume 18, number 214. Finda Bono's allies reject corruption, money laundering charges, brand indictment as political witch hunt. And to conclude on the front page, budget manipulation. US $95 million gap in 2025 approved budget with a recast raises alarm as finance ministry accused of. Our next and last stop is the Heritage newspaper. Boaka's credibility rests on how it treats officials cleared of corruption. And Senator Amara Kone backs having whole Liberia real deal calls for stronger safeguards. Well, that does it for this edition of Press Review from Liberia's capital, Monrovia. Thanks for listening, and it's back to you in studio.
Many thanks, Abraham Parker.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is a guest.
Our guest is a security analyst in Borno State, epicenter of the Boko Haram insurgency in northeast Nigeria. Bukar Bulama tells us about the reasons behind the recent clashes between fighters from the Boko Haram terrorist group and its offshoot, ISWAP, a quest for territorial control and a shift in modus operandi.
Is the control of the territory, as you say, each of which want to have the control of the entire danger zone. Sambisa Forest, Boko Haram is now controlling part of Sambisa Forest and Mandra Mountain, and ISWAP is very active along the Lachad fringes of Lachad and Niger Republic. But sometimes you can see ISWAP attacking Boko Haram. ISWAP even killed Abubakar Shako, according to so many reported or narrations. But now Boko Haram, I don't know how they were empowered. They went up to the fringes of Lachad and killed majority of ISWAP fighters. And I don't know what happened to the ISWAP this time around. But most of the attacks that took place before, it was the ISWAP that pursuing the Boko Haram terrorists. But this time around, ISWAP suffered most casualties and they lost a very large territory to the Boko Haram fighters.
Now, this reported came shortly after the new Chief of Defense Staff visited Maiduguri, that is Borno State, where he gingered or motivated soldiers at the battlefront to go on to eliminate or eradicate all fighters. To what advantage is this now to the army?
Many ISWAP fighters that were arrested and kept in military custody were negotiated and being released. They are now called repentant fighters. They are fully armed, trained, and moving alongside with Nigerian military, and sometimes they are moving along fighting and killing terrorists. They don't differentiate ISWAP and they don't differentiate Boko Haram. And initially, it was the strategy of Nigerian military that led to the separation between the two groups, or led to the faction of ISWAP and Boko Haram. It was the military strategy purely, and Nigerian government and military and civilian are enjoying the fight between the two terrorist groups, and that is at the advantage of the citizens, the government, and also the military and other security operative, because the more they fight, they reduce their populations, and the government is, massively gaining or recording these successes.
It's almost 15 years or more since the insurgency began in northeast Nigeria, Borno State precisely being the epicenter. How far has it been for the state and the region, their journey towards rebuilding?
There are a lot of reconstruction, settlement, and rehabilitation program put in place by the previous administration of late President Muhammadu Buhari. And at the state level, Governor Babagana Umar Azulam, and in other states, Yobe, we have Maimala Buni and Umaru Fintri in Adamawa State. Let me talk about Borno State, where I'm residing. I know what the government is doing in collaboration with the World Bank, with so many NGOs and local NGOs like Victim Support Funds, like Northeast Development Commission, the ongoing clearance operation, military used to pursue all the enclaves, and then this organization and federal government reconstruct the villages, towns, and mini cities. And that is how civil authorities are being established again for the first time in, I think, 16 years, and people were being resettled, they were being economically empowered, and they continue to pick up the pieces of their life and continue living and managing their life.
Bukar Bulama is a security expert based in Maiduguri, Borno State, northeast Nigeria. In the world of sport, the Confederation of African Football CAF has announced key regulations for the upcoming 2026 FIFA World Cup playoffs ties, including the much-anticipated clash between Nigeria and Gabon and Cameroon against the Democratic Republic of Congo. The mini-tournament will run from November 13 to 16, with football fans across the continent bracing for an exciting showdown as teams fight for a place on the world stage. Under the new rules, if matches remain tied after extra time, penalty shootouts will decide the winners. Teams will also be allowed 5 substitutions regular time, with a 6th substitution permitted in extra time to help manage fatigue. CAF has also confirmed the use of video assistant referee technology, or VAR, to review crucial incidents such as goals, penalties, red cards, and mistaken identity, ensuring greater fairness and transparency. And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Ismaila Kamara for the technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms X, Instagram, and Facebook at WADR English. We also stream live at wadr.org. Do join Alpha Abubakar at the top of the hour of 1 p.m. for the second edition of our comprehensive news package in French and Fushivu. I'm Abdullahi Hassan. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Niba County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Gulf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.